Hey everyone, my name is Caleb, and I was asked to share what Matthew 28 means to me. And so I've been reading that this week and reflecting on it each day and thinking about it. And it's kind of two things that stood out to me. The first one was, just the phrase or the whole sentiment of do not be afraid, which I know may seem like the obvious thing that stands out, given especially everything that's going on today and COVID-19. But just the more I read it and I looked at it and thought about it, it just stood out over and over again. This theme of do not be afraid, and I think it's as Jesus says it and the angels say it, to Mary and the disciples, it's just do not be afraid. And it just, as I thought about it, yes, they're afraid because they've seen an angel and it's scary and things like that. But I mean, more I thought about it, it's like, their whole world kind of collapsed very quickly. And not only did they see an angel, which was scary, but they also thought, they're mourning the loss of a dear friend, of someone they believed is the Messiah. And so for them, it's like this whole world or foundation that they've been building just seems like it's collapsing. And I just, as I thought about that and thought about all the different things they were afraid of, and just God kept saying, do not be afraid, do not be afraid. And I think it does translate to today, though, whether you're, in fear because you've lost a loved one, or it's something due to COVID-19 or your finances or your job through all this, especially the time we're in. Man, the thing that just stood out to me was do not be afraid. And then the second thing was one that kind of I've been thinking about for about the past year anyway, ever since we started doing the song Living Hope. And it gets to the verse and it says, your very body began to breathe. And ever since I heard that, I've been thinking about that and that verse. And I grew up in church, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't take some of these things for granted. Shame on me. That should never be. But sometimes you've heard stories and heard about all these different biblical stories in Jesus' resurrection, and while it is very deep and meaningful to me, maybe sometimes I don't give it the respect and honor I should. But as I heard that lyric and I started thinking about it, I thought about it for the past year. And I guess just one thing, as silly as it sounds, clicked for me. I started thinking about it is, what would this scene look like if I was creating a great movie? And so I started thinking about that, where it says your very body began to breathe. I thought, I wondered what I would have it look like, and then what did it really look like? Did his heart beat first? Did his skin start to get warm again, or what? How did that transformation really happen? And man, God spoke to me, and it was, I think the thing that God spoke to me through that verse and what it means to me is, just because I know the ending, and why I don't take the ending for granted, it's like, don't take the middle of the story for granted either. It was a rough journey for God and Jesus, but it was a beautiful one, and Him showing His love for us at the same time. And man, I think maybe I need to sometimes give a little bit more honor to it than I do. And not that I dishonor it, but man, just God spoke to me, and He just really said, just because you know the ending, don't discard the journey and the whole story to that point, and really dive into it and give it the reverence that it deserves. So those were just two things that stuck out to me this week as I read Matthew 28.